PFICs are passive foreign investment companies, and it sounds just as dirty when you actually spell out the acronym as when you say the acronym. Long story short, there's a lot of definitions that go into it, but for the majority of retail consumers, what a passive foreign investment company is any foreign collective. So if something looks like a US mutual fund, but it's sold abroad, it will be a PFIC. Even more importantly, if you buy an exchange traded fund on a foreign exchange, because it's a collective, that's going to be a PFIC. So anytime you're buying investments outside of the United States and they're majority passive, they're going to be a PFIC. And it's going to be taxed horrendously on the US side, even if it's taxed in a decent way on your home territory. And the reporting requirements to them is going to be egregious. And sometimes, most times, I think you'd agree, Richard, almost impossible to be able to calculate. So you're having to make some estimates on how to calculate the taxes that might be due.
It's horrible. So anyone listening, this is any not any investment, but any collective investment, pretty much any fund, exchange traded fund, mutual fund, if it's not a US based, and by that we don't mean it invests in the S&P 500. I mean where the fund is domiciled. You're buying the fund in the UK or Europe in pounds or any other currency than dollars, it's almost certainly going to be a PFIC. And they are a horror show if you're a US person. And by that, I mean if you're an American abroad, well, any American anywhere, but let's say mostly an American abroad, or, as we see it here, an expatriate who's come to the US. So you've come to the US from the UK or wherever, you're mid-career. So by the time you're mid-career, you've built up assets through years of working, pensions, savings, ISAs in the UK, whatever your equivalent is from your country. These are going to have PFICs in them. And people arrive in the US with them, thinking nothing of it, and then they learn the hard way that these things are taxed punitively, and there's a boatload of reporting requirements that go with it.
Absolutely. And those reporting requirements are typically charged and filed by the fund. So if all of a sudden, if you have a diversified portfolio of 10, 15 funds, you're going to have to do 10 or 15 reports of PFICs. Mm-hmm. And they're going to charge you per document, per fund. And I've seen some of the accountants charging in excess of $500 or $1,000 per fund, to where it gets extremely expensive.
Have you seen the IRS guidance on how long they estimate it takes to complete the 8621? So 8621 is the form associated with these PFICs. And the IRS, I can't remember what the exact figure is, but we're talking, it's like 10 or 20 hours. It might be even more than that, 20 or 30 hours, which seems a little excessive. But to Brian's point, regardless of whether it's a couple of hours or 20 hours, according to the IRS, an accountant who's going to fill out this complex form is going to charge for it individually. And if you've got a portfolio of PFICs, forget the tax. That's going to be punitive, but the reporting itself is going to be punitive.
It becomes cumbersome, expensive, and annoying. So that's why Richard says, if we can catch this beforehand and not even have to go through the mix, it's going to be the best option.
Even people who are aware of the PFIC problem, so they know to jettison in the UK we call a brokerage account a general investment account, right? So they know to jettison their PFICs before they get here. Well, it still catches these people out because they might be holding PFICs in a wrapper, such as an ISA or an offshore bond, or I'm sure there's all sorts of equivalents from other countries as well. But essentially the US will look right through the wrapper and see that you're holding underlying PFICs. So the thing with an ISA, where this gets so pernicious with an ISA is, we've had clients who have got hundreds of thousands of pounds in an ISA, and they think, well, this is a fantastic wrapper to have, tax-free growth, tax-free withdrawals. I don't want to lose this. So they move to the US and maintain the ISA wrapper, not knowing to switch up the investments within it, thinking they're okay. We come on the scene, we spot it, and we have to say, I'm sorry to say, not only is this now no longer tax-free, but also it's going to be punitively taxed. We always just assume back of an envelope 50%. Once you factor in the tax, the interest, and maybe there's going to be state tax as well, we just like assume 50%. So you thought this was going to be tax-free. No, sorry, it's going to be taxed at 50%. Oh, and by the way, you've also not been filing these forms that you should have done. So now you're also in non-compliance with the IRS.